Oh hey! Tonight I'm taking just a little break from quilting and working on this puzzle because I think puzzling is the new quilting, right? I'm kidding, it's not the Midnight Puzzle Show. It is, however, a brand new season of the Midnight Quilt Show, and I have put together a wide variety of quilt patterns. One of them is going to give the illusion of curved piecing, but it isn't, right? And oh, you asked for it, we're going to be doing a Bargello quilt in a future episode as well. And if that wasn't good enough, all the individual patterns will be available for sale. So if you like the quilt but want to make it with your own fabric, now you can. Tonight's quilt is called Puzzle, but it's far from puzzling. First, I'm going to finish this up real quick. Close enough is not good enough when it comes to puzzling. Hold on a second, one more. Oh man. Well, that puzzle is gone. We're gonna focus on a much better puzzle, tonight's quilt. And this quilt is gonna use fabric called Boundless Collage and a fat quarter bundle, which I love fat quarter bundles because they're all pretty and together for me. But this is actually the hardest part of making a quilt for me, sorting the fabrics. I have to take this bundle and have lights, light mediums, medium darks, and darks. So we'll see how this is gonna go. I always feel like this is some kind of test I'm gonna fail. Like I don't know what should be what. It's actually kind of similar when you're sorting puzzle pieces, right? You sit down with the family, you section out the flowers or the edge pieces. You always got to worry about the people that take the edge pieces though. I figure like that's the easier option. Okay, I have 3 groups, but I need 4. So I'm missing, I don't know, I guess this would be medium dark. That's definitely dark. It's probably medium. Man, where's the phone a friend option when you need it? I'm not sure if this is right or not, but it looks good to me and I'm gonna start cutting. So cutting out is very easy. I just gotta cut a lot of strips in squares. First, I'm gonna cut my lights. Then cut the light mediums. And what's nice is if you can stack these on top of each other, you can whip through a lot of them a lot quicker, which is great. Just make sure you're paying attention to what you're doing. That's always helpful, especially this late at night. And then 6 1/2, which means I gotta turn this a little bit. Hey, popcorn, move you out of the way. All right, then I'm gonna cut the medium darks. Then again, just cutting into strips and turning and cutting them more. All right, one more color left, the darks. That means I'm almost done. Now I'm gonna go ahead and finish cutting up the rest of these strips, and this is a great time for you to go ahead and click subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. Now with all these beautiful fabric options, I get to select the ones I want to use in each block. So I know I need 2 big squares of the lighter, 2 smaller. And basically I'm just picking out colors I think are gonna look good together. I'm trying not to overthink it though. Turns out I do have a little bit of OCD when it comes to this kind of stuff. I just want to get this picked out and done. Now this is gonna make one beautiful block, and I've already got 3 other groupings put together. What's great about this is that I can arrange all my blocks and then put them away and pull them out one at a time and work on it a little bit here and a little bit there. But I'm not gonna do that because I wanna make this quilt tonight. And what I'm gonna do to keep these from getting unorganized is use my very handy quilt block organizing bags. That's copyrighted product that I love. It's something I can't work without. And here you can see it has the clear that you can see through. And I'm gonna stick it in here, and that's gonna help me make sure that none of these blocks get unorganized and mixed up with each other. And as an added benefit, it does protect against freezer burn if you wanna put your leftovers in it. I have my perfectly organized blocks. I'm gonna select my first one in my handy dandy bag organizer, and we're gonna start putting this together because what's the best way to put together a puzzle? One block at a time. I love the mom jokes. All right, so I have all my pieces. On the back of 2 of these squares, I'm gonna draw a line because I'm gonna do that stitch and flip method that's so handy when it comes to piecing. And then I'm gonna use 2 of my big squares. What I like about this is I'm making them 2 at a time, so it makes me feel very productive. I'm gonna lay it on there, and I'm gonna stitch on that line, trim it, and flip it, and then repeat. Rinse and repeat. I'm gonna do the same on the next block. So there's my block. Now I'm gonna just trim it, press it carefully not to stretch it, and then I have part 1 of my block. I suppose I could use a rotary cutter for this, but I feel like scissors are just so much quicker. Now that's a nice stitch and flip if I do say so myself. On to the next. It's going to get these little strips, kind of like the frame. It's like the edge piece on both of these. And what I'm gonna do is sew and then sew and have the block. Now there's 2 gorgeous blocks, and they're actually going to be the corner frames of the finished block, which means I gotta get those other pieces out and keep going. So I have 2 light colored squares, 2 dark colored squares, and then I'm going to lay the others all around it. That's the block layout. Now it's time to put my magic on and sew it together. Those are done. I have my other pieces of my puzzle done. Now I have to arrange it. And just because my last puzzle experience didn't go so well, I bet this one's gonna go much better. So I already know I have my corners. And then an easy reminder is this is gonna still be in the same corner as well. Now this may look correct because they fit together, but it's actually not. I have them switched. There we go. And what it does is it makes that cool secondary illusion where it looks like the fabric is twisted and turning. I love it. So it's time to sew it together. Now, I will be honest, there's one teeny tiny little, I won't call it a tricky seam, but it's just something to consider, and it's where these corners come together right here. I'm gonna show you how it's really not that hard. When I place my fabric together and I pull it back, I'm actually gonna want that little point to extend about 1/4 of an inch past the other piecing, and that's gonna help me make sure that it ends up somewhat perfect. But you know, if it doesn't, it's fine. But you know it's a big deal if I'm actually using a pin. So I'm gonna pin this in place, and why not? Since I'm already using pins, might as well do more. And then sew it together with that 1/4 inch seam. Repeat with the next. Let's see, oh, dang, that's nice. The later we get in the night, the worse my piecing gets, but I'll take that one any day. And that one's not too bad either. Now, one last seam for this block. Now that is one block that isn't puzzling. Monique Dillard, who designed this quilt, is a genius. Time for the next block. So I got my little baggie of fabric, which, by the way, is really awkward when you're trying to explain to the police officer that pulls you over what this is. Not sure he quite believed me, but he must not have been a quilter. Well, I guess it only works on quilt blocks. And you wondered how I'm able to get a whole quilt done in a night. It's my magic power. Too bad it doesn't work on laundry or dishes or even laying out the rows. I guess I have to do this regular style. So the first row has only 4 blocks, but it is a puzzle quilt after all, so I have to be really sure that all the pieces are going the right way. So what I'm looking at is being sure that these areas are lining up. And then that is really where that cool optical illusion comes in, where it looks like it's kind of twisting and weaving in and out. Now let's sew. All right, one more row to go. Where's the other piece? Oh no, where'd it go? One job. I swear, my kids got in here. Can't believe it. Where'd it go? No idea. All right, let's sew this together. Now, unlike a real puzzle, I get to quilt this baby and I can't wait. I'm gonna use my backing, my boundless collage backing, make this into a quilt sandwich and get to the best part. But I'm sure you're wondering what thread color I'm gonna use. I know, maybe you weren't wondering that, but I sure am. I have to decide what thread before I can get started. Now, I'm gonna use quilting designs that are really gonna enhance that twisted illusion of the block. But since they're gonna take a little bit longer, I wanna use the same thread color over the whole quilt. So I'm gonna opt for my light yellow thread, which you know is one of my favorites. Sure, it's gonna show up on the dark fabrics a little bit, but to me, that's just a bonus. And all the rest of the fabrics, it's gonna blend in and look great. I'm gonna do some wishbones on this quilt, so I better get started. So I'm gonna start by echoing the sides of my corner. That way it kind of enhances it and separates it from the rest. Then I'm gonna travel along that seam so I can get to the next side and echo that. And then echo both sides. Now, of course, this is a part that you could leave out because it's not important, but I love how it separates and gives it just a little bit more of a frame to it. And then I'm gonna fill in that area with the wishbone. I could use any filler, of course, but I do like the wishbone, it's nice and fast. Once I fill in that section, I'm gonna go right into that lighter square by traveling along the edge. And what I'm gonna do to help smash it down or kind of make it look nice and flat is I'm gonna use a swirl. And since this thread color blends in nicely, it's gonna help hide any imperfections. Now that I have one corner done, I'm gonna move along by traveling on this seam and get to my next corner. And here I'm gonna go ahead and fill in with some more swirls. So I'm gonna finish these 4 corners doing the same thing, traveling, echoing, and putting in wishbones, and then I'm gonna tackle these twists right here. Now this is actually the up all night version of the quilting idea that I have, but I put together some quilting diagrams that include this and a turn-in early option in case you're not as crazy about the machine quilting as I am. So make sure you download that. And while you're at it, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of these quilting tips and tricks. So now that I have the corners of my puzzle pieces done, I'm gonna work on those little twisty bits, or those areas of the blocks that look like they're kind of interlocking. And I'm gonna do the same thing, which is add a little echoing and some wishbones. All right, so I'm done quilting that twisty bit. I don't know why, I just think the word twisty bit sounds kind of fun. So that's what we're gonna call that. So I finished that little twisty bit by adding my echoing and my wishbones. And so I ended up down here. And what I really wanna point out to all you machine quilters out there is that I'm not trying to do every section at the same time. What I'm gonna do is jump in between the different pieces. So when I ended here, I'm just gonna travel on over and go right into my next section. It just makes it more efficient and allows me to get more done, especially when it's late at night. Now, another thing I wanna point out is even though here I have 2 different pieces of fabric, they're the same print, so I'm treating it as one. And that right there is the key to making this illusion happen. So I might be overthinking it, but then again, I'm easily amused and it works for me. So I'm gonna finish these up. I'm gonna do the squares and the twisty bits, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's all finished. And this puzzle quilt is finished, and I'm super proud of myself because it actually has all the pieces. It's such an easy pattern, but it looks so much harder, and I love how I got to use the quilting to enhance those twisty bits, or that optical illusion that they're weaving in and out of each other. So thanks so much for joining me tonight. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes, because you never know what's gonna happen on the Midnight Quilt Show. I wish I hadn't thrown that puzzle away.